I'm Jake Sanderson.
I'm Tim Stützle, and you're listening to the Locked On Senators podcast.
Your Locked On Senators, your daily podcast on the Ottawa Senators. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
You are listening to the Postcast presented by the Locked On Senators podcast and, of course, our friends over at the Glebe Central Pub. I'm your host, Brandon Piller, alongside Liam's Martian after a 4-2 loss to the Winnipeg Jets. Guys, check out the Glebe Central Pub. Check out the website. You can get your tickets to the Sens shuttle for the World Junior Games and remaining Sens home games at the CTC. Check it out at the GCP. Like I mentioned, a 4-2 loss at the hands of the Winnipeg Jets, and we've got the voice of Winnipeg, Ross Levitan, here joining us with a boots on the ground report. Ross, can you hear us? How are you doing, buddy?
Yeah, you're coming right to me, eh? You don't even want a thought from Liam's Martian first?
Well, we got to go to the boots on the ground report right away. You could have been the goal judge for all of those goals. You had great seats we got to see on the Sportsnet broadcast, so I figured let's snap it to you first.
You do know I got my great seats because of Game Time, right? I used code LOCKEDONNHL. I got my $20 off. Dude, I paid $130 for each ticket at 5 rows up from the goal line. So it was a great night. It was unfortunate. Obviously, the score fell apart in the third period. 2-2 going to the third. I just kept telling my buddy Tyson, I was like, one point. Just get us 1 point tonight. But it wasn't meant to be. But if you asked me who the better team was on the ice tonight, I'd lean the Ottawa Senators. Obviously, the Jets stars came through. That Kyle Connor goal, nothing you're doing about it. The Ehlers goal, yeah, probably something you'd like done about it in goal, but still, That's their star players coming through. After the Connor goal in particular, because I know, Pills, you love going in chronological order, it was 2-0 Ottawa. We can get into why, but the reason this game fell apart was not the Connor goal. I looked at Tyson, I said, buddy, that one was going to happen. Like, you could feel it coming. But then the second goal, you're like, all Scheifele has is backhand here, but he couldn't get over. So, hey, all in all, lots of Sens fans, lots of citizens representing. I got a lot of, Locked On Sens at the game. That means the world to me. I still don't know why people care what I think about the team, but it was an absolute treat being among Sens fans in Winnipeg, and it just sucks they couldn't get a point, Pills.
Martian, I'll snap it over to you now after our boots on the ground report there. How'd you feel about this game? Were you confident when this team was up 2-0?
I was feeling good about that 2-0 lead for sure. I knew that, not having Olmark in net and having, Matt Sogard in there was not ideal. I knew we needed goal support for sure. Being up 2-0 was a nice cushion, but boys, it disappeared.
You want to come on the podcast?
It disappeared quick.
Ross is going to bring some friends onto the Postcast. We've already got 111 friends. There we go. We got some Sens fans. Let's go. Boots on the ground report. What'd you see from the game, boys?
What do we like? What do we not like tonight?
I thought the 2-0 lead was beautiful. I think Stutz had a good game, but Sanderson had to work on defense.
That fourth goal where you just backed off and let him go in the front.
Yeah.
That was
tough, man. Like, we're talking about the goaltending too in this one, and it's like I'd like a save, but you guys think like a little more defensive responsibility.
Weak wrister went in there,
So Sogard, I think, played as well as he could play, but it is what it is.
Yeah, it is what it is. Hey, the Jets are a good team, boys. I'll snap it back to you.
I think that's
a couple guys in the mix there.
That's exactly where I was going to go with this. You look at this team, they're coming off the break, the Sens, and, you're playing, I would say, arguably the best team in the NHL right now. So, it's probably a scheduled loss. You're expecting them probably not to come out of this one on top. It would have been nice to maybe have a little bit of a better chance, try to push that thing to overtime. Sorry, guys, my voice is shot right now. I was at the U.S.-Latvia game today, and I was shouting USA all day. So
no worries. We battle.
Yeah, we're battling through this one. But, no, honestly, boys, you can't get too upset. You can't get too high. You can't get too low on this one. I think overall, they played a pretty solid game. But again, I think the goaltending is going to be a major issue if Omar can't get healthy.
Yeah, and that's the thing. Like you look at a Sens team, Martian, that's coming into Winnipeg. You're on the road up against one of the best teams in the NHL. You're playing a third-string goalie that was playing in the minors a couple nights ago, and you would have hoped for a better performance by Mads. I thought he had a couple good saves, but surely there's a couple where you need him to stand tall, and as a goalie of his size, he should be able to stand tall in there. But you got to tip your cap to the Winnipeg Jets as well. Sure, they didn't dominate possession and the pace of play the entire game, but when they had their opportunities, it was their big guns that got the opportunities in good spots, and the Sens defense didn't exactly give Sogard a lot of help. Like on that Ehlers goal, sure, it's a clean look that you want Mads to get, but the Sens defense just backed up, gave him the space, and I think even Ehlers was surprised, being like, how am I in the slot after I just glided into the zone? And Nikolai Ehlers, when you give him that time and space, he's going to beat most goalies on that shot. So it was tough. Ross, how do you feel about the way this team played in front of Mads?
Dude, in the second period, there was one play. I don't know if people remember, but that was the Sens defending zone for where we were. And I was like, man, the guys have such a commitment to defense. Thomas Chabot got a stick on a puck and he lost it on the play. And I was like, buddy, that he's dialed in. I felt like Ottawa as a defensive core. If they play this way for the next 35 games, I feel very good. I think that Ottawa showed, and let's remember, the Winnipeg Jets are the #1 team in the NHL. Yeah. In their building. Would you like to keep a 2-0 lead? For sure. And like, the Jets fans clearly let me know throughout the night who was winning that game in the third period. The third goal, they turn around, they're yelling at me. It's fine. That's the game we come to. You win some, you lose some. It's all part of the experience. But after the fourth goal, I got nothing. People just understood that this was an evenly matched game, but not one where one team could say they dominated the other. Like, I think Ottawa held their own tonight. It's unfortunate the way that it ended. You'd love to get an extra save. You'd love to score an extra goal. Both goals coming on the league worst road power play. Yep. So that snapped out of its funk. Now, do I love the penalty on Sogard that caused this to go? I thought he was in his crease making a save. And typically when a player skates over a stick like that, they just let it go. So if that's Linus Ullmark, is he getting a penalty there? Probably not.
Maybe not if Mark Scheifele doesn't have a temper tantrum.
Oh,
Jeez.
buddy. That's not his first. That's not his first. Won't be his last.
Yeah.
But if you weigh this game as its entirety, I like the way the Sens played.
Yeah, me too. And if you look at the shots on goal here on this game, it was 35 for Ottawa, 23 for the Peg. So, I mean, if you're just looking at that alone, you can kind of tell that Ottawa was maintaining the puck for most of the game and getting their chances. They dominated the face-off dot tonight. They were 60% in the dot, 60.9%. So they had possession of the puck, I think, a lot of the time. Few good looks on the power play, and especially that 4-minute minor, that was huge getting that goal to make it 2-0. And I do agree with you, Ross. I think they played a solid game. You said if they play that for the next 35 games, they're going to do well. And I agree with you. But the thing for me, again, I'll just point right back to is going to be the goaltending. And they need Linus Ullmark back in the net, in the crease as soon as possible. If they sneak out a win in the next couple games here, I'll be happy with that. And they'll still be very much in the hunt. They might lose their spot in the wild card in the standings just for a period of time, but they're gonna need to recover from what's gonna be. And it's expected. We're expecting this road trip to be a tough one. It's gonna be a hard road trip, and they're probably not gonna come away from this road trip with a winning record. And that's just a realistic perspective. And I think that, if you odds, bettors, everything, Vegas has them as, they're the underdogs going into all these games probably. So they need to maybe try to sneak out a win. And after the fact, that's when they're gonna get back to their bread and butter. They're gonna get their goalie back, and hopefully a couple other guys too, like Amadio and maybe Zub, I think will maybe be coming back after this trip too. So I think that it's more of just like a hold, stand pat kind of mentality right now going through this road trip. You're coming off the holidays. I saw that picture of Brady Tkachuk today. It looked like maybe he had a couple extra, maybe beers over the holidays, maybe a little extra turkey. He looked like he had a couple extra pounds out there tonight. He was playing heavy. I looked good, but I'm just saying, like, I think the boys, this road trip is a little bit of a write-off if you're asking me.
So let me hit on a couple of things there, and then I'm going to snap it over to Pillsy here to drive the ship. The Senators played well enough to win the game tonight. That's first and foremost.
I feel like that's fair. Yeah.
If they're playing a number of teams, that's a win tonight. Unfortunately, despite a limited number of defensive miscues, they had a 775 save percentage. Like, you shoot an opponent like the Winnipeg Jets in their building by almost 10, you're gonna win that game more times than not, especially when you get out to a 2-0 lead. So I know that often I'm like the roller coaster up and down, but despite this 0-point performance for the team, I'm feeling almost better about them. I think that after 5 days off, they came out and played a heavy physical game against the number one team. Let's remember, the number one team in the NHL in their building, and you're tied going to the third, hoping for a point. So I think, again, if they play like this, it'll be good. The power play woke up. We'll see if that continues. Like, now I'm looking like you have to get at least one tomorrow in Minnesota, but you can't hang your hat on how they played tonight as a whole. I thought top to bottom, Timmy had some great plays. Batherson was moving the puck. I thought a lot of good things happened tonight. It's just unfortunate you don't get the result.
Yeah, and you look at the end of the game, like the Senators got 17 shots in the third period. They were really putting the pressure on the Jets when they pulled their goalie. Like, you certainly can't knock this team for a lack of effort and say they let it get away from them and they just allowed this Winnipeg Jets team to get the win. They were really pushing at the end, so you got to give them credit there. And I did think, other than a couple mental lapses, the defense was decent. They were blocking shots. Ross, you mentioned they played a physical game. They out-hit the Jets 21-15, so you love to see that. 13 shots. As Martian mentioned, they dominated in the face-off dot yet again, 60.9%. So overall, this is a process game where you like to see the process here, but you don't like to see the results. So that's a tough one. A 4-2 loss on the road to the best team in the NHL with the third-string goalie starting.
Yeah, and my final point with the third-string goalie, that should be much of the conversation. I get it. This, to me, is not a lose hope on Mads, but it's a reminder that he's not ready to play NHL games just yet. I think he will be. There will be a day. I witnessed a team give up on Ben Bishop at 25 years old, and he went on to play in, 2 Stanley Cup finals, if not one in a couple conference finals. Like, I don't want to give up on Mads, but he's waiver exempt this year, and he should not be the guy up. I would prefer him playing games in the AHL and having Malcolm Subban being an option in Ottawa. He would need to get an NHL contract, but I love Mads. I think he's got a lot of potential, but he's not an NHL goalie right now. It's just not the case. So I hope Forsey's ready to go tomorrow. If not, it's Marilainen, and then you're hoping for Forsey on Thursday in Dallas.
Yeah, and I would even say, like, you're almost giving him too much respect calling him the third string goalie at this point. I think for me, he's the fourth stringer. I know he's got more experience at the AHL level, but for me, everything I've seen from Marilainen tells me he's a better goalie right now. And I mean, Sogard, you look at him, man, he's had his chances multiple times. Like, every time.
Was it fair to assume he would be ready for his real opportunity that was at 20 years old in his first full year in pro, where it's like he got hosed by the organization? Yeah, but when Forsey went in, like, he was the youngest goalie in the NHL.
I know, but Ross, you also just threw him in the same conversation as another tall goalie, Ben Bishop, who was winning AHL goalie of the year. And if you look at Sogard's numbers this season, he just is not. He's not doing it. He's not doing great. I hate to say it. I know this is a goalie-friendly show, and we're kind of giving him a bit of a slam. He doesn't really deserve it. He's been put in a tough spot multiple times. But there's got to be a moment where, he's been a pro for years. He should be able to step up when we're needing him, and he hasn't yet done it. There's been a couple wins here and there, And he's looked good at moments, very small moments though, Ross. And he's looked worse than he's looked better more often than not, I think. So for me, I'm kind of out on Sogard right now, unless he has some kind of crazy resurgence where he like goes on a crazy run in the A and they call him up and he all of a sudden looks like the Great Dane. You can't put his name and great in the same sentence right now. I'm very sorry, you can't. He's just not playing up to snuff. And if you're going to be throwing this guy in there, he's got to do better.
Yeah, it's fair. I mean, we'll see what happens as he has a one-way deal on the next year of his contract, and the plan was for him to be the backup for Linus Ullmark. So he's got to figure it out this year. I'm with you, Martian, and the results speak for themselves. Ross, you got a quick word about our friends over at the GCP, especially with the World Juniors going on right now?
Oh, you're trying to shut me up about the goalie conversation, eh?
Well, we can get back to it. I just want to get a word in from our favorite pub in Ottawa.
Yeah, they are my favorite pub. I wish I could step foot in the Glebe Central pub right now. But last thing I'll say, and look, your guys' points is completely fair. Very much so. Has not delivered at the NHL level, but he was off to his best year yet in the AHL. And again, it gets interrupted. He gets hurt. He comes back. And he makes an awful performance. He'd be the first to tell you. And then the last two, he's got a 9.15. So I'm just hoping there's more. And I think we need to be patient with him, but not for NHL games right now. He's not ready. So that's my thought on Matt Sogard. And my thought on the Glebe Central Pub is that it is the best place to go in Ottawa. Now, let me turn my phone sideways. My hands are getting cold, but my passion remains strong for the Glebe Central Pub. Look, it's our pub in the heart of the Glebe, 779 Bank Street. If I was in Ottawa right now, I would be on GlebeCentralPub.com and I would be typing in the send shuttle for the World Juniors. The Team Canada, Team USA New Year's Eve matchup is the best place to be on New Year's Eve. Don't be with all the rookies out in the market. Be at the Glebe Central Pub and check their shuttle for that game. They've also got shuttles for all Ottawa Senators home games. So, Pilsy, tell the people where they can find the GCP.
You can find them at 779 Bank Street. And like Ross said, if you go to the website, they've got the shuttle going for Canada versus Germany on the 29th and Canada versus USA. So there's no better way to get to the rink, whether it's Sens hockey or World Juniors, than going to the Glebe Central Pub. The vibes are free at the GCP. This episode is also brought to you by Prize Picks. If you love sports, you're going to love Prize Picks, the best place to turn your sports knowledge into real money. You can now win up to 1,000 times your money on Prize Picks. Plus, this holiday season, they're giving away $30+ million in rewards during Picksmas and offering 2 free picks in December. And when your picks hit, Prize Picks makes it easy for you to cash out. You can get your money as quick as 15 minutes. This week on Prize Picks, looking at hockey, I'm looking at Brady Tkachuk to have more than 4 shots on goal and Tim Stützle to have more than 1 assist. Download the app today and use code LOCKEDONNHL to get $50 instantly after you play your first $5 lineup. That's right, $50 instantly. Prize Picks, run your game. All right, boys. I think we've got a good conversation going about the goaltenders here. I mean, with no Linus Ullmark, no Anton Forsberg, Matt Sogard and or Levi Merlainen are going to have to figure it out. You got to assume they're going to go with Levi Merlainen tomorrow. But let's stick on to this game because although it's tough that you get out-goalied by a Vezina winning goalie on the road, it'll happen. There was a couple really good positives from the Sens. Like their power play was clicking. Ross mentioned it's the worst road power play in the entire league. They were sitting at 10.6%. They go 2 for 4 tonight, 50%. That was solid for the Ottawa Senators, especially up against a team like the Winnipeg Jets. Ross, what else did you like from this team?
Well, power play is definitely number 1. Number 2 is just how the lines flowed. Like I said, I think Ottawa put pressure on the defense for the Jets. They had a lot of offensive zone time. They're getting pucks on net. Sure, Hellebuck bobbled a couple in the first period and then settled down later. But
now, was he wearing 2 blockers tonight, Ross? Every single glove shot knocked off his glove and was a juicy rebound.
It really felt like that, right? So I just felt like Ottawa won the matchups tonight. Like I thought Ottawa's third line was way better than the other teams, and obviously Lowry goes up against Timmy's line defensively with the Jets getting the last change. But just all in all, like I liked the performance. I was happy with what I saw tonight in person, and I was sitting low so you can see in the first and third, like they were snapping it around. And one thing, and I'll leave you guys with this one. I'll have more thoughts tomorrow on the postcast. But
Hit us with the Send Central standout before you go as well, Ross.
okay, well, I'll do it with not knowing any sort of the stats, but watching the game, this is what I was going to feature right now. So I'll just do it as a standout. Like
All right.
watching Jake Sanderson keep pucks in at the offensive blue line is a thing of beauty. Like he's doing it on his backhand, he's doing it out of the air, he's doing it on his forehand, and all of a sudden, not only does he keep it in, but he's able to make a slick next stick handle. And it's an incredible talent. And you notice it when you're more at the game. Rather, obviously, I'm watching a lot of these games online, and like it doesn't highlight that enough. It's an elite play, and Jake Sanderson is amazing at it.
Yep, Jake Sanderson finishes tonight with 24 minutes, 51 seconds on ice, 1 shot, 2 blocks, dash 1 though. But yeah, I did think this was one of Sanderson's better games on the night. So we thank you for your boots on the ground report, Ross. He's been skating on the rink this entire time. That's a hashtag hockey guy. So there he goes. Ross Levitan, the voice of Winnipeg and co-host of the Locked On Senators podcast. See you, buddy. Thanks for joining.
From the frozen tundra of Winnipeg, Manitoba.
Ross, go back. Change
All
it.
right, there goes Ross Levitan.
He's going to change a diaper. He's got beautiful Lily Levitan back at home for him. So this guy's living the dream over there. So we love Ross when he's boots on the ground, especially for a Sens game in Winnipeg. He's in his home element. He's dialed in. Global news, Ross Levitan.
Yeah, he's an absolute beauty. He's doing the newscast for every city in the prairies, it seems like. And when he has time between taking care of a baby and doing his radio job as well, he's doing the podcast and giving us boots on the ground report and making appearances on Sportsnet Hockey Night in Canada. Everybody, if you were watching the game, you saw him with a big celly after that Tim Stützle goal. All right, Martian, Ross's standout was Jake Sanderson. Who do you have as your Send Central standout presented by the Glebe Central Pub?
Yeah, and Pillsy, I'm not going to go with I think somebody that I don't think anyone's going to really expect me to take this player, and I'm just going to do it just out of respect and love, and somebody that I think is a really solid player for this team, but has looked a little bit slow I would say in the first half of the season. This guy, he's been a little bit slow, and for me tonight, I think the break did a lot of good for Claude Giroux, and I think that he came out flying. I think that a little bit of home time for this guy, spend time with his family, maybe just take it easy a bit, like give the body a little bit of a break. I think he looked faster tonight. I think he was playing with speed. His mind was clicking. He was making plays. He came out of the game today with an assist, obviously on the power play goal. It was a beautiful goal, and he had a lot to do with that. I think Claude Giroux was great tonight. Almost 60% in the dot there, Pilsy. And I think Claude, for me, from what I've seen from him this season, I think that tonight was maybe one of his best games. And I think I got to credit it to just having a break. He's an older guy. Just give the body a rest. And I think that, going forward, that does good things for Claude Giroux. I thought he was good tonight.
Nice. I love hearing that, Martian, because that's a guy you've been hard on this year. So
him, yeah, I have. No, trust me, yeah. And I've not only been, I've been punishing him with my tweets and sometimes here on the postcast, but I've been looking at him really closely because I'm afraid of what is he going to turn it, like what's going to happen to him, right? Is he going to continue to decline? I saw really good signs out of him tonight that. I really want to focus on the positives from Claude Giroux tonight. I thought he was awesome, and his beard looks awesome right now. He's trimmed.
He's got one of the best beards in the league.
It might be the best beard in the league right now. He's got it dialed. This guy's beard. I think. Well, maybe we can just throw an extra point on it right there. Like that's just for having a sick beard. And the fact that it's also orange, it just makes it a little bit cooler. He's great. So I got to go Claude Giroux here for my standout.
I like it. Yeah. And like, he's just so consistent in the dot. Like, having a guy like that you can put out, you need, well, let's talk about that assist though a little bit, because Neil Pionk clears the puck out of the zone, but it hits off the glass and goes into the penalty box. So that brings it right back for an ozone draw for the Sens, and Claude Giroux snaps it back to Thomas Chabot. Chabot, no mistake, gets it on net, and really Greg's there for the tip. So when you have a guy that can snap it back at a 60% consistent rate, you can get him in all different areas in the game. If you need a big face-off win on the PK, if you've got the goalie pulled in the offensive zone, like, having that skill and that ace up your sleeve with Claude Giroux is just so clutch.
Yeah, it's humongous. And I think that I think this is something that, like, we're not thinking about. Obviously, we don't want to get too ahead of ourselves here, but, like, when you get into the playoffs and you find yourself in a tough defensive zone face-off situation, and you have a guy who is that trustworthy, who's able to snap it back at any given time, such a veteran, and even like the players that he is going eye to eye with and getting down in the dot with, they know, this guy's a guy who's been, he's got, I mean, maybe hundreds of thousands of faceoffs, if not definitely tens of thousands of faceoffs taken in this league, and he wins more than 50% of them. That's an intimidation factor that it goes without saying that I think that, like, a lot of these players who are younger in the league, they almost maybe respect him a little too much in the dot. They don't want to, they don't want to overstep themselves. You always see Claude Giroux in the dot talking to referees.
Yep.
He knows how it works better than they do. I think at this point in his career, I think he's taken more faceoffs than some of these refs have dropped pucks. So,
honestly, yeah.
He looks at these guys and he goes, "You better drop this thing properly, otherwise we're gonna have an issue, right?" And he's that kind of guy. He will tell them. He's great for that. He brings a little bit of that little sassy attitude, right? And that's the kind of thing we love. So you can't have too many guys like that on your team. And I think David Perron's another one of those guys. Hopefully he gets back in the mix here soon. But for me, Claude Giroux, he's an important factor of this team, especially now that, like, we're a competitive team all of a sudden, Pills. And once the goaltending thing gets figured out, get a couple more wins going, get back on the right track, I think we're looking nice.
Yeah, and I'm going to get to my Sen Central standout in just a second. Before, I got to let you know that this episode is also brought to you by Rocket Money. Did Rocket Money help you find any subscriptions you've thought about or forgot about and thought you were paying for twice? Rocket Money is a personal finance app that helps you find and cancel unwanted subscriptions, monitors your spendings, and helps lower your bills so you can grow your savings. It brings everything together in one nice, easy place, whether it's subscriptions, spending habits, or even the goals you want to hit this year. They've helped over 5 million users and have saved up to $500 million in canceled subscriptions, saving members up to $740 a year when you use all the app's premium features. So cancel your unwanted subscriptions and reach your financial goals faster with Rocket Money. Visit rocketmoney.com/lockedon today. That's rocketmoney.com/lockedon. rocketmoney.com/lockedon. All right, Martian, if we're talking about winning faceoffs as a big part of why the Ottawa Senators were able to battle in this game, well, my Sen Central standout did a perfect job of that. And when I say perfect, Martian, I literally mean perfect. Shane Pinto was 7 for 7 in the dot in this game, and I thought he was buzzing. He had 5 shots on goal. My game sheet at NHL.com just froze on me, but I know he had 5 shots on goal, and he was buzzing. Like, I thought he looked great on the penalty kill. When the Senators started the game in the first period, Jensen tripping penalty, Pionk had to trip Pinto because he was being so aggressive on the PK, and that made it a 4-on-4. And I just thought he was getting pucks to the net. He had a really good opportunity in the slot. Hellebuck saved it with his glove, but didn't catch it. And then he was right there for the rebound again. I like what I'm seeing from Shane Pinto recently, Martian, and especially I like what I'm seeing from him because he really started clicking with Cousins and Amadio, and then Amadio went down, and it's not like that busted his confidence, even with Ridley Gregg there, who's a kind of similar type player, just a little more gritty than Amadio. He's still been really good, in my opinion, and anytime you can go perfect 7 for 7 in the dot, that's a great game for a centerman, in my opinion. So I wanted to give a Sen Central standout presented by the Glebe Central Pub to our guy Pinner.
I love that, Pilsy, and it's very rare that we have a couple goals in the game and we don't end up taking any of the goals for the set, right? We must have been really paying attention tonight. We had our guy. We got our guys tiled in. But you're right. 7 for 7 in the dot is a ridiculous number. Reminds me of when he was playing at UND and he was snapping them back, going 18-1, and like these ridiculous numbers that he was doing back then. He's starting to figure that out at this level. And you mentioned the shots on goal. He had 5 tonight, but dude, his shot attempts, I think, it had to be close to 10 because he was ripping the pill, and I know there's a few times, especially right before Winnipeg's third goal, he ripped one and it kind of rimmed around the boards and went the other way. They ended up scoring the other way. I think that's kind of one of those ones where it's not his fault. I mean, it's not his fault, but like hit the net there. That's a different story. I think, yeah, you're right. Shane is starting to really turn the corner, I think, on the season. I wouldn't be surprised, Pilsy. What's he at right now? 4 goals in the season, 5 on the season. What would you do?
He is at 6 goals, 3 assists, Martian.
6 and 3. So would you take the over under 19 and a hook for goals scored for Shane Pinto this year?
I think he can hit 20, especially we're hoping Amadio comes back soon. That line, Cousins, Pinto, Amadio has been buzzing.
So you would take the over?
I would take the over, yeah, because he started off so slow. But we talked about it seemingly every postcast, Martian. When this guy scores, he's going to score in bunches, and he's been really good in recent games. He scored pretty much all his goals in the last 10 games. He scored on the first game of the year and then went 15 straight games without a goal. So it was awesome to see him get back in the mix. And when he's able to be a third line center and be able to play up against other teams' bottom sixes, he's just so much better than most opponents' third line centers. Like when he's up in the top 6, it's a little much for him, but as a third line center, he's right where he needs to be and he can thrive. So I don't think it's that crazy, Martian, to think that in the back half of this season, he can score 14 goals.
I don't think so either. I would also be taking that. I think I would bet on that. Yeah.
Let us know in the chat. Are you with us? Are you riding?
It'll be close. He'll be in the high teens, I think, for sure. He's just heating up now. So I think, yeah, you're right. But absolutely. Yeah. He's just all of a sudden looking like a different player. He's getting his confidence back and he's playing well.
Yeah, we love to see that from Shane Pinto. Let us know in the chat, guys, if you think Shane Pinto will be able to crack the 20-goal mark. The Ottawa Senators, unfortunately, were not able to crack the 5-goal mark in this game as they lose 4-2. But like I mentioned, I did think they put a lot of great pressure on at the end, especially when they pulled their goalie. They had a couple chances. They didn't let the Winnipeg Jets get the empty netter there. But a loss is a loss. You would have liked to get a point when you get out to a 2-0 lead. But they're going to have a chance to bounce back real quick tomorrow, Martian, up against another great Western team in the Minnesota Wild. How are you feeling about that game, Martian? Like Ross said, if they play a similar style game to tonight, you get hopefully a little bit more confidence out of Levi Merriline, a guy who's already played a couple NHL games in the recent stretch here. You like their chances?
Yeah, I actually kind of do like their chances, and I there was a few reports out there today that maybe Kirill Kaprizov might not be fully healthy, and it's possible that he'll miss that game. That would be huge for Ottawa. Like a guy like that, he's an absolute weapon. He's gonna be sniping for sure on these goals. He's probably frothing at the mouth, looking at Matt Sogard and Levi Merriline in the crease. He's probably looking at that and saying, "I'm gonna light these kids up." And so for me, him being out would be a huge factor, but Minnesota's
not
really
in the lineup on Daily Faceoff, Martian. Sorry to cut you off there. I'm just trying to get a better report, but he might not play tomorrow.
Yeah, and well, Minnesota's a really good team. They're stingy, right? Like they got a pretty solid goals against in the league, right? They're still right now under 100 goals scored against them. So they're like in the bottom echelon of teams as far as getting scored against. So the Sens are going to need goal support for sure, especially with their current goaltending situation. I'm still I'm frazzled by this whole thing, Pills. I think that it's not good for the Sens to have these basically rookie goalies, these young guys standing in between the pipes. We need Ullmark back as quickly as possible. But if Kaprizov is not in, that kind of balances things out for me as far as I see it. And I think that the Sens can probably, put the pace on these guys and use that offensive touch that they've shown, play a good possession game. And I think it's possible that they could squeeze one out here. I've said it before, and this, I think this little stretch of road games here, especially like this next couple, I think they come back probably in the middle of that because there's a little bit of a break there for them. But for me, it's these games are almost bonus points. If you end up getting points out of these things, it's you're looking pretty good, because right now the Sens are still 3 games above 500 after tonight, losing tonight. You want to absolutely continue to tread water above 500, but if they drop a couple in a row, like I said before today, it's not the end of the world, Pills. It's really not. We can't overreact to these losses. Of course, it'd be nice to sneak a couple out, but for me, these are scheduled losses. They were scheduled losses prior to Linus Ullmark being hurt, so I think that they're going to be okay.
Easy with that, Martian. They don't like hearing the scheduled losses, but
that's when it comes from you, Pillsy. That's when it comes from you. It's different when I say it.
Okay, fair. Hey, I'm not trying to throw anyone under the bus here. But yeah, it does look like Kirill Kaprizov. I just checked Yahoo Fantasy, and they mentioned that he's questionable. So it's not crazy to think he might not play tomorrow. That would be huge for the Ottawa Senators. Now, obviously, the Winnipeg Jets are the top team right now, but Minnesota's right there too, so they can't take them too lightly. Hopefully, we see Levitan and Brandon with a better game, because he hasn't really stolen any games for the Ottawa Senators when he's been called up. But either way, it's a tough position to have both these guys in. Like, the organization did not want to see any scenario where Matt Sogard and Levitan and are their 2 starting goalies at any point this season.
Hell no. And also, what do you expect too? Because Levi Marilyn has already done a pretty good job with the work he's been given. He got that nice win against Vancouver with the start there. That's a good team. So it's not crazy to think that he can go in there and maybe feel a little bit more comfortable this time. He's been getting a lot of road starts. I guess that's the situation he's being put in. So hopefully I look at it, I say, if he can look solid in the first part of a game and give the team around him, because this is my problem with Sogard, is he doesn't give the team confidence. You look at Ullmark in the net, and he's in a rocking chair, Pillsy. We've been saying this. He's confident, he's calm, he's cool, he's freezing pucks. He's saying, hey, boys, we got this stuff. It's all good. And, these young goalies, they just don't quite have that kind of energy that's going to feed the team to play better in front of them and give them the trust that they need to have to be able to do what they need to do to make themselves good on the offensive side of things. And even in the defensive zone, if they're all scrambling around and they're like, oh my God, I can't let a shot get through here because we got a young goalie, and Pillsy, you played goalie. Like, it doesn't matter what level you're at. You know what it's like to have a crappy goalie. And when you maybe don't. I don't know. You're probably pretty good in the old house.
I was
league.
okay. I was a house league goalie. Yeah.
yeah. But either way, right? You want to give your team confidence, and I think these younger goalies aren't really giving that energy off that the team wants to have to be able to perform. And I think that's all it is. And I think this Senators team, as much as, we've seen them, play well in the last few games, or last few weeks, I would say, I think having a goalie that gives them confidence goes a really long way, considering how young they are as a group, and just give them that little extra bit of freedom to just start ripping, right?
Yeah, 100%. And we're all praying that Linus Ullmark has the best chiropractor in the nation's capital, and he's healing up here, because we need him back so badly. Maybe Forsberg comes back for one of the Dallas or St. Louis games, but because he has been on the ice, so that's at least a good sign to get a more veteran guy with more NHL experience. And you hope that he can somehow find his way back to form, the Forsey we knew and loved, because he hasn't been great this year either. But it's a tough spot that the Ottawa Senators find themselves in. And when both of your goalies are called up from the minors, it puts your AHL team in a tough spot too. The Belleville Senators fell tonight 4-3 at the hands of the Toronto Marlies. That's a game you're going to want to win. Malcolm Subban wasn't able to get the win there. So tough night for the Senators organization, but they get an opportunity to bounce back tomorrow night. Martian, any final thoughts here as we wrap up on tonight's postcast?
Well, no, I was actually just thinking maybe I was going to throw a question at you here, Pilsy, if you don't mind.
Here.
I was going to ask you, so like, what are you thinking with the crease situation in Ottawa currently? You know, they got these two young guys in there right now. Who knows how long Allmark's going to be out? At least it's going to be pretty much a week by the time he ends.
I'm pretty sure Travis Green said he's not going to be on this road trip at all. So I think that means he's not going to be available for Dallas or St. Louis as well.
Right. So for you, like, I mean, I think we feel probably pretty similarly, but if you're Steve Staios right now, are you looking at the goalie market and thinking maybe I can bring somebody in here who's going to be a better option?
Yeah, I mentioned it. I forget which episode it was of the Locked On Senators podcast, but I mentioned that targeting a guy like Alex Lyon, right, with the Detroit Red Wings. Is he going to carry this team to the promised land? No, but he's a guy that's had to stand tall when his starting goalie hasn't been great. I'm pretty sure he did it in Florida, and he helped them get to the playoffs. I think it was 2 seasons ago. And he's a guy, Martian, with only 1 year on his deal at $900,000, and Detroit's got 1 million goalies. I'm sure they'd like to make room for Sebastian Cossa to get in the net, backstopping Cam Talbot. So that's an opportunity you could look for, but something like that where you don't have to give up a lot of assets and you can find a guy that has 1 year left on his deal at low money, and you hope he can come in and provide some stable goaltending. Because as much as I love Forsey and I want Forsey to be able to get back to form, I don't know how confident I am in him, even if he's able to get healthy and then it's Forsberg with Mad Sogard or Levi Merrilainen for an extended period of time. Because with a goalie in his 30s and back issues, this could be something that's resolved quick, or it could be something that it's reoccurring and maybe Allmark gets back and he has more issues with it down the road. Obviously, knock on wood, I'm praying that doesn't happen, but you never know with these kinds of things.
Yeah, and I'm going to throw a name at you right now. And this is a guy who just got thrown on waivers by the Montreal Canadiens, Caden Primo, 25 years old. Not great numbers this year. He's had decent seasons in the past, but pedigree, right? Obviously, like I think the Habs thought highly of him for a little while. He was a 7th round pick, so I guess pedigree is probably not the right word. He's shown a little bit of promise, and he's still pretty young relative to how you would look at a goalie. I think, in my mind, goalies don't hit their prime until their late 20s, and at 25 years old, you can take a flyer on a guy like this. I don't think health has really been that big of an issue for this guy. No. And looking at a guy like Forsberg, and I don't trust his knees, and then Allmark as well right now. Like maybe like bringing a guy in like Caden Primo might not be the worst thing. Give this guy a fresh start. He might end up just being exactly what you need. So I'll be interested to see at 2 p.m. tomorrow what ends up happening there with this guy. I could see him getting claimed for sure. It's just a matter of which team. And I don't think it'd be crazy to say that the Sens are going to maybe take a little shot at this guy. I wouldn't be crazy. It wouldn't be crazy. I don't think, right? Would it? In their current situation, they've got both their AHL goalies playing in the end right now. So crazier things are happening. And obviously, if he comes up and he's good, great. If he's not, who cares? You can just waive him again and get rid of him, get him out of town. So
the chat has mixed opinions about it. I think some people are like, yeah, sure, why not? It's a free opportunity, and other people are like, well, I don't think he's the answer, because Martian, he does have NHL experience, 55 games played, and take this with a grain of salt, it's been with a rebuilding Montreal Canadiens team the whole time. But in those 55 games, a 3.77 goals against average and an 884 save percentage, a 13-23-7 record. So I don't know if he's better, but I get the argument you're saying. It's not going to cost you anything. He's a little bit older than Sogard and Levy. He's got more experience than both of them combined in the NHL. Maybe you take a flyer on him, and if it works, sweet, you ride the hot hand. If it doesn't, didn't cost you anything, and you can waive him again. Maybe a fresh start gets the job done here. Personally, I think if you're thinking of getting Primo, you might as well just stick it out with Levy and Mads. But I see the point you're making, and it doesn't hurt. Like, it's not costing you anything.
I think part of it too, Pilsy, is the Belleville factor, right? You want Belleville to be a good team, and you want Belleville to make the playoffs, and you can't have them having, what's the guy's name? Andre something, whoever the guy that they end up having in the A right now, because their two goalies are up.
Michael Simpson and Malcolm Subban are the two guys right now.
Oh yeah, Simpson's okay. It was Simpson who I was thinking of. I totally butchered whatever.
All good. I got you.
But yeah, no, I think that you want those two guys, one of those two guys, to at least be down there to help Belleville win games and make the playoffs and get to a playoff spot. And it's a bit of a filler. Just bringing a guy as a filler, it can't be worse than what we were cooking with right now. And that's the way I see it. So I wouldn't be shocked if they take a claim at Caden Primo here. But we'll see. I guess we'll see. But at the same time, yeah, Belleville, Pills, we've seen when the Sens, become a good team, it's always a little bit off the back of their farm team being good as well. And I think that, having guys who end up getting playoff experience in the minors goes a really long way.
Oh, yeah.
It goes a long way to just like their careers in general. I think these guys gain playoff experience, even though the NHL team's not in the playoffs yet. But I think that, guys like Cole Reinhardt, we look at all these guys, even I hate to say, I'm actually maybe not going to throw this out there. I was going to say, if the Sens don't make the playoffs, there's a couple guys who are on entry-level deals you can send down and get a playoff experience in Belleville. So, but at the same time,
we're not going to go there.
We're not going to go there. So, yeah, but it'll be interesting. If I had to put odds on this right now, I think there's probably a 20% chance that the Sens end up putting a claim in on Caden Primo, and who knows if they're even the top bid on him. So the odds aren't great, but it'll be interesting to see. I do think that name carries a little bit of weight for whatever reason. I think there's been promise there with Caden Primo in the past. I think it might be because
he's been a good AHL goalie, Martian. In the AHL, he's got 123 games under his belt, 274 goals against, excuse me, a 909 save percentage, and a 63, 42, and 15 record. And then in the playoffs, 16 games, 221, 933 save percentage. So he's kind of one of those goalies where he's kind of graduated from the AHL, but he hasn't had the success you would want in the NHL. So that makes me nervous.
Yeah, and right now it's World Junior season. And I look at his World Junior performance as well, and it wasn't anything spectacular. I don't think Canada didn't medal that year. That he was in the crease. So maybe I'm wrong. We'll see. But maybe just a little bit of a shakeup, a little bit of a change of scenery for him might be.
He's American also. Just quick correction there.
Oh shoot. That's my bad. So he did medal.
Yeah, I think so. He had a pretty good World Juniors, a 161 goals against and a 936 save percentage, 4-1 record.
I totally thought he was Canadian, so that was my bad.
No worries.
Yeah, they got silver in that one, so that was my bad. Sorry about that, guys. That's
good. I'm here to help you out. We don't have Locked On Senators stats department here, but I'll do what I can for you, Martian. So obviously, classic Ottawa Senators goaltending ends up being a disaster for this team, and the success of this team, we mentioned in the offseason, is going to hinge on how well the goaltending is. Because last year, if the Sens had average goaltending, literally above 900, they would have been a drastically more successful team, and we're hoping that this doesn't happen again to the Ottawa Senators, because it's a scary place to be when you don't have 1, 2, or 3 capable NHL goalies in your franchise. So we'll keep an eye out, Martian. 2:00 tomorrow. We'll see if your theory is right and they do take a flyer on Primo, or if they decide to stand pat. Let us know in the chat what you think they should do. This has been another postcast, not a vibe cast, not maybe a bit of a vent cast because we're frustrated with the goaltending, but I would say more of a fine cast when you look at the game tonight, as the result is a 4-2 loss to the Winnipeg Jets. But the Sens, they played a decent game, and if they're able to mimic that process and win Minnesota tomorrow, you're hoping that they can get a better result, at least 1 point. Let's walk away on this weekend with 1 point. That would be great. You want to try to stay afloat here in this wild card race. So thank you to all 164 of you in the chat. We always appreciate you. Thank you to Ross Levitan for the boots on the ground report in Winnipeg, and joining with him were a bunch of other Sens fans, absolute beauties. Lilleem's Martian, myself, Brandon Piller, our good sponsors, the Glebe Central Pub, Prize Picks, and Rocket Money. We love all you guys. Let's get some Go Sens Go in the chat here. This has been another edition of the Locked On Senators podcast. It's your team every day.